Hello, my wonderful and lovely humans. So today we are going to be talking about the cell cycle. So this is our first step into cell replication. So talking about the overall process. Eventually we will get into talking about mitosis and meiosis, but first things first, okay? So cell cycle it is. Now let me go ahead and flip my screen here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Alrighty, so I am going to require that you guys make sure that you are doing some coloring here. Now, I don't really care what colors that you guys use as long as they are matching the notes with what's in our diagram, okay? So let's get started. We're gonna go down here to the top, or sorry, bottom right corner, all right? So we're gonna start from here. Alrighty, so this is our first growth phase, okay? And that is what is characterized. Now, when I was talking about the colors here, like I said, I want to make sure that they are going to match up. So this color right here needs to match this arrow here. And I'm going to start that off by using my favorite color, purple. All right, so let's go ahead. Make sure we fill in those boxes, nice and pretty. All right. And one more over here. And y'all know Miss Reyes is a little bit OCD, so bear with me. I'll make sure that I speed through the rest, okay? No worries. Alrighty, so do you guys see how my colors match up here? Again, make sure your colors match up. It doesn't really matter what color you choose as long as they match up, all right? Anyways, so this is going to be our first growth phase. So the cell is going to increase in size and it's going to synthesize new organelles. Okay. So an organelle is actually going to be what is basically a teeny tiny little organ, okay? So your body has organs that make you work the way you're supposed to work, and so does a cell. The only thing, or the only difference is that cells are teeny, teeny tiny. And so guess what? Their organs are also gonna be teeny, teeny tiny, which is why we call them organelles instead of just organs. So please make a note on the side that these organelles are tiny cell organs. All right, tiny cell organs. Now, an example of these tiny cell organs includes our mighty mitochondria. All right, and if you guys think back all the way to photosynthesis, that is where we first met our mighty mitochondria. And I'm going to go ahead and color those guys in with this like orangey red color. Just because, like I said, they are going to provide us with some power. They're going to charge our cell and the processes that go on in our cell. All right, so there's our mighty mitochondria. All righty, so this phase where we're doing our first growth phase is going to be known as G1. And G is going to stand for, guess what? Growth, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I make that note over here also. So this is G1. And I'm also going to make sure that we know it is characterized by growth. And somebody has joined us. So say hi, everybody, to King Triton. He is around. He is a lurkin'. All righty. So we just finished up with our purple color. So let's go ahead and go into a green color. Ooh, pretty. Okay, so movie magic. Blah, blah, blah. And voila, we are back. So as you can see, Miss Reyes has gone ahead and done a little bit of extra coloring here. So you guys pause this video as necessary, okay? Alrighty, so we just talked about our growth phase where this is our first growth phase, okay, which means that, hey, we're gonna have a few more. Here's the king. And basically that growth phase, we're going to increase in size, grow new organelles, okay? So that was our first growth phase. Over here in this green box, what we're gonna have is called, oh my goodness, King Triton. Let's go, time to go, buddy. Oh no, it's happening, guys. It's happening already. I'm sure he'll be back. Okay, anyways, where was I? All right, so this green color over here, we are going to call our S phase, okay? And S is going to stand for our synthesis phase. Okay, it's going to stand for our synthesis phase. And if you guys think all the way back to photosynthesis, right? Photo meant light, specifically sunlight, and synthesis meant the making of energy from light, okay? So if we apply that knowledge here, the making of, what we're doing here is we are trying to make a new cell. So this is known as the synthesis phase. The cell's DNA is going to be replicated. And so there are going to be 2 copies of the DNA, okay? And this is going to basically make them ready for that cell division. And the king has got to go again, but like I said, I'm sure he'll be back. Okay, so next we can move on to this little blue area here. Really quick before I move on, do make sure that these greens match up with each other. Now we move on to this blue section over here, and this is our second growth phase. So guess what? Just like G1, this one is also going to be called the G phase, but this G phase is going to be called G2, okay? Because it's our second growth phase. So again, I'm going to go ahead and write that down here. Make sure I do not forget that this is G2, also characterized by growth, okay? Super important. All right, so this is our second growth phase. The cell is going to continue to grow, okay? And it's going to produce proteins that are needed for cellular division. All right, and cellular division is basically how we begin to replicate our cells. Our next arrow here, the one in pink, okay, it should be matching up this pink over here. So this is characterized by mitosis. And guess what? That first letter right there, that's what we're going to call this. This is our M phase, okay? M as in mitosis, and that's actually what it stands for. See if I can make that M a little bit more M-y. Okay, so the 2 copies of DNA are separated. The 2 copies of DNA are going to be separated, and the cell will then split into 2 by dividing the cytoplasm, which I like to think of as the jelly that kind of fills the whole cell. You know, aside from the organism, it holds the organelles, it kind of holds the organelles in place. And when it splits the cytoplasm into 2, we call this process cytokinesis. All right. Cytokinesis. And there it is. I'm going to flip my camera really quick so you guys can see what I'm dealing with exactly. Yeah. So this is what's happening, guys. Really. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled program. Alrighty. So now that we've taken care of the M phase here, we need to go on to this last and final phase. Now, this last and final phase, if you guys are paying attention to this arrow, well, it kind of diverges from the rest of the cycle. And that's because this is going to be a phase that is somewhat optional, okay? It doesn't always happen. So this is what we are going to call a resting phase, okay? A resting phase. So some of these cells are going to enter this resting phase when the conditions for cell division are not favorable. So what I mean by this is simply that maybe we don't have enough food, or maybe we don't have enough water. So it doesn't really make sense to put energy into, replicating or, getting bigger, when instead what we should be doing is just trying to survive. So that's what we mean by conditions are not favorable. So what we're going to call this is our G0 phase, and that's zero, not go. I realize it looks like go, but it's like, no. Okay, so this is our G0 phase. And once again, I'm going to write that down here so I make sure that I remember. But G0 right over here is in this orange color. Alrighty, so as long as you guys have had enough time to copy this down, we need to talk a little bit more about this cycle here. So the first thing I need you guys to pay attention to is the fact that interphase, right, is going to include this whole section here, okay? So pause for movie effect. And voila. Okay, so as you can see here, I have went ahead and colored in this interphase area. And this whole pizza pie chunk, all right, all of this is going to occur during our interphase phase. So everything, all this G1, the S phase, the growth 2 phase, and that mitosis phase, or sorry, not the mitosis phase, okay? This is a little bit different. We'll get into that in a second. But all of these processes that fall under this interphase area, this is a huge chunk, okay? Now, the one that is a little bit separate from that is that mitosis. And that is what we are now going to get a little bit more in depth with. And that's going to be in our next video here, okay? But this mitosis process, just like interphase, is going to encapsulate quite a very important few processes in here. And we are going to talk about those individually on a separate assignment. Okay, so as long as you guys have this stuff done, all right, I do want you to take a quick look and notice the fact that this chunk right here is the only chunk that is dedicated to mitosis. Everything else goes to interphase. Isn't that right, King? Yes, it is. Alrighty, so with that, we are going to go ahead and say a thank you. And just so you guys can get a quick glimpse of the king over here, because clearly he needs the attention, right? Some belly rubs, yes. Okay, anyways, so that is going to conclude the cell cycle. In our next video, what we're gonna do is talk about mitosis, alrighty? So stick around, click on the next video, bye.